we now have several urgent warnings for all Bitcoin investors who don't own enough Bitcoin. The wealth redistribution that will take place in the coming months and years will be more extreme than most people expect. Additionally, Donald Trump is once again warning Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. He issues yet another warning. Robert Kiyosaki also speaks up, saying that he's now buying even more Bitcoin and shares his latest Bitcoin prediction. But now, let's take a closer look at all of this in detail. Especially this warning from Donald Trump is extremely explosive. Before we get started, smash that like button for me. Take a second so we can pump Bitcoin up here. Hit like if you also want to see Bitcoin pump here. Bitcoin has been moving sideways for several days now, and nothing much is really happening. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. We can just build a little foundation here now. Some people think there might be another sell-off coming. No one really knows for sure. But what you definitely need to take away is that if Bitcoin breaks out here, then everyone had plenty of time to accumulate Satoshis and Bitcoin at a good price. No one can complain about it afterwards. And the warnings have been here all along, like from Pierre Vauchard, who says, "I'm worried about small investors who aren't sufficiently invested in Bitcoin." Fred Krueger follows suit and says, "We are now moving on to large print. Anyone who doesn't have Bitcoin now is going to get hit hard. The system will collapse and monetary policy will loosen drastically. The longer we wait, the more everyone will celebrate. The deficit will explode. Emergency bailout packages will be announced. All scarce assets will skyrocket. High-quality real estate, gold, and Bitcoin. And anyone who isn't properly positioned will have missed out on all of this. They simply won't have any more opportunities to profit from the rally. And then I don't want to hear any messages from people saying, 'Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I just slept through it. I've been sounding the alarm the whole time. I've been telling you this all along. And now this scenario is very likely coming our way.'" As I said, we'll take a look at the stories about Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki in a moment, but first I need to make it clear to you just how dramatic the current situation really is. Because of the massive redistribution of wealth from banana heads to whales, from idiots who are sleeping through the whole thing to Bitcoin OGs, from some fiat billionaires to people who have now subscribed to the channel. This transfer of wealth is happening right now. That's why I'm telling you to subscribe, so that you're on the right side of this wealth transfer, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. I've got the numbers right here. We have 196,207 Bitcoin that have been accumulated by companies since January 1st. On the other side, we have 61,200 Bitcoin that have been newly mined by miners. That means we have a corporate accumulation rate of 3.2. In other words, the rate at which companies are buying Bitcoin is 3.2 times higher than the rate at which new Bitcoin is being issued. And now I'm going to tell you a very, very harsh truth. The 196,207 Bitcoin that have been accumulated here by big companies, Strategy, 21 Bitcoin, all those, well, not 21 Bitcoin, 21 Metaplanet, Semler Scientific, whatever all those companies are called, these nearly 200,000 Bitcoin didn't come from the miners. The companies didn't buy the Bitcoin from the miners. Instead, the big companies bought them from the banana heads, from the people who are busy with Netflix and chill, from the people who are just sleeping through all of this, the weekenders. These are the people the companies bought the Bitcoin from. The BlackRocks, the Fidelities, and so on, they simply bought the Bitcoin from the weak hands. The retail sellers think they're making a good deal here, and the corporations will just keep buying forever. And if retail investors ever want to get back into Bitcoin, they'll have to buy it back at even higher prices. When FOMO kicks in again and the price goes back up, that's when the weak hands crawl out from wherever they've been hiding and want to buy their Bitcoins back. But that's the big mistake. Don't sell your Bitcoin to BlackRock and the big players. I mean, there are always exceptions where selling might make sense, but the big danger is that suddenly we have a kind of money that works from the bottom up. All of a sudden, all these corporate players come in and snatch up all the Bitcoin. That means we have 450 Bitcoin being produced per day, but companies are buying 1,441 Bitcoin per day. And that's a ratio of 3 to 1, which is pretty intense. And here we have an annual net loss of liquidity of 135,000 Bitcoin. That means we're seeing a shift of 135,000 Bitcoin or more flowing from weak hands to strong hands. But all of this also means that in the long run, the price has to go up because demand is much, much higher than supply, and the price can't be suppressed forever. And when things take off, you need to be properly positioned. This is not financial advice. Do whatever you want, but don't say later that you weren't told here or that nobody warned you. Robert Kiyosaki also comments on this and says, "Why will gold, silver, and Bitcoin continue to rise in value? It's simple, because the Marxist central banking system will collapse. Many will go bankrupt. Keep holding, so hold on to your Bitcoin. I'm buying more Bitcoin. I expect Bitcoin to rise to $250,000 this year. Buy more, don't sell." And that's the big message that Michael Saylor is saying, and now Robert Kiyosaki is saying it too. A lot of people really get this, but unfortunately, a lot of people just don't get it. And you want to be on the side of the people who understand this now. The crazy thing is, you're the first person in your bloodline who even has the chance to be on the right side of this wealth transfer. That means every few hundred years, or maybe every 100 years, we see a mega wealth transfer like this. Usually, in a generation, there's maybe one big opportunity like this, sometimes two or three, but not many, where you can make massive gains with just one or two trades, and right now, you're the first one who can catch this mega gain with Bitcoin. There's never been anything like this before. We have a completely asymmetric opportunity here to get ahead of a whole lot of people who are still sleeping on this right now. And you are the first in your bloodline who can hold absolutely limited money, who can hold money that is completely censorship resistant, who can hold fully decentralized money. And yet, there are still people who say, okay, what's happening here isn't relevant at all. It's extremely relevant because what we're seeing here is a technological breakthrough comparable to the steam engine, or how should I put it, the printing press, the internet, electricity, and so on. And it will probably even surpass those because Bitcoin is very, very likely to have a bigger impact than the internet. The internet allowed us to settle or transfer information across space and time instantly at almost zero cost. And for the first time in human history, Bitcoin allows us to transfer value across space and time almost instantly without the need for trust. Crypto Rover is absolutely right in what he's saying here. Right now, we're about 50% of the way through Donald Trump's supercycle plan. First, crash the market. Second, create fears of a recession. The third phase, which is just about to begin, rate cuts. That's the direction we're heading now, and then you'll be in the right position. And then comes the fourth phase, stimulate the bull market. Now you just have to put two and two together. Anyone who gets this wrong now is going to end up on the wrong side. And if you don't believe me that the breakout phase is coming and that interest rates are going to be lowered, then just take another look at the statement from Donald Trump. This must be at least the 10th statement from him by now. President Trump says almost everyone agrees that the Fed should lower interest rates. Trump once again refers to Fed Chairman Powell as too late Powell. So we can see it very clearly. He wants to lower the interest rates, and it's just like with a flood or a big fire. You always have to get insurance before the house burns down. You always have to get insurance before your house gets flooded. If you get insurance afterwards, and that's the same as accumulating Bitcoin, then it doesn't really do you much good. And that's always what people get wrong. They complain, yeah, if only I had done this or that, whatever. No, you knew it. The signs are very clear here. Donald Trump issues another warning. Very, very interesting. Here he says, Walmart should stop citing tariffs as the reason for price increases. Trump says he will be watching what Walmart does. Of course, that's an exaggeration. I mean, he's actually creating some of the inflation himself with the tariffs and the uncertainty. And now he's shifting the blame onto the companies. So I think that's a bit over the top too. But yeah, that's just how Donald Trump is. But there were some other things as well, like the mayor of Panama, for example, who is now officially going to meet in El Salvador with Max Kaiser, I believe. I don't know if he's also meeting with Bukele. In any case, it looks like they're about to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Panama as well. It's pretty exciting that more and more countries are now approving or are about to approve strategic Bitcoin reserves. In the US, there are also several states that are close to approving this. And that's also the next big argument for why it might not make much sense right now to be on the selling side or the losing side, even though, of course, you all have to make your own decisions with your money and shouldn't just listen to me, but instead form your own opinion. We can also see from all the interest on Google, from the Google searches, that they're still not, let's say, active. The Google searches for Bitcoin are still very, very low. But now, someone has discovered something really, really interesting here. Specifically, it's a MicroStrategy and Metaplanet analyst, Jeff Walton. And he went and looked up the statistics. And here, for example, when we look at Bitcoin, we can clearly see, okay, no one is searching for it. The last peak was sometime in October when Donald Trump was somehow elected, or October, November, something like that, I think last year. And since then, it's basically been going down, and now it's moving sideways. And now, as we can see, we're almost at a bottom level. So let's move on. Now let's take a look at MicroStrategy. Its peak was also around October or so last year. Since then, it's been going down and then just moving sideways. That means MicroStrategy is also very, very uninteresting. But now pay attention. With Metaplanet, we can see that the hype is currently skyrocketing. We're seeing a massive breakout here, and that's probably the big potential that a lot of people are noticing right now. Of course, this isn't financial advice, but a lot of people are thinking, okay, Bitcoin is too boring, MicroStrategy is too boring, but all these new treasury companies that are popping up are definitely very, very interesting. They have a new narrative. They're currently bringing some action to the market, whether it's your 21 Capital, your Nakamoto, Metaplanet, and so on. I mean, you really have to be very, very careful. I also assume that one or another of these treasury companies will really crash and burn in the bear market. As for whether MicroStrategy will collapse, I don't really believe that just yet. But in my opinion, it's very, very likely that one or another company will get hit. But that's just what's bringing a bit of excitement to the market right now. Yeah, let me know in the comments below how you see things. If you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll put a link below to 21 Bitcoin, where you can easily and securely buy a sample of Bitcoin. Use the code Bitcoin Hotel there. You can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin there. And I'll see you then. See you later. Peace out.